Why are you still here? 5 words. That was all it took to make my hands freeze in the soapy water, my heart slamming against my ribs like it was trying to escape. I didn't turn around immediately. I couldn't, because I knew that voice, deep and calm and dangerous in a way that made grown men stutter. Gabriel Moretti, my employer, the man whose house I cleaned, whose meals I prepared, whose life I organized from the shadows. The man I was never supposed to see at 2 in the morning because he was supposed to be 3 states away handling business that people like me didn't ask questions about. But here he was. And here I was, elbow deep in dishes that should have been done 8 hours ago, wearing the same uniform I'd put on at 5 that morning, with a fresh burn on my left hand that I'd wrapped in a kitchen towel because I couldn't let anyone see it. You know what's funny about karma? Everyone talks about it like it's this beautiful, mystical force that balances the universe. They say what goes around comes around, that justice finds its way to everyone eventually, that the truth always rises to the surface no matter how deep you try to bury it. But what they don't tell you is how long karma takes. How much you have to endure while you're waiting for it to show up. How many nights you spend wondering if maybe, just maybe, karma forgot about you entirely. My name is Lucia Torres, and this is the story of how I went from being invisible, terrified maid scrubbing dishes at 2 in the morning to the woman who brought down an empire of lies. But let me tell you, before I got there, I had to survive hell first. Hey, how are you doing? I hope you're somewhere comfortable right now, maybe curled up with a warm drink or taking a break from your day. Wherever you are, whatever the weather is like, I'm glad you're here because this story, this experience I'm about to share with you, it changed everything about how I see strength, love, and survival. And I have a feeling it might change something in you too. Before we dive deep, do me a favor. If you're enjoying this already, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't yet because trust me, you're going to want to hear how this ends. Share this with someone who needs to hear a story about finding strength when you thought you had none left. And comment below, tell me where you're watching from, what time it is for you right now. I love knowing that we're all connected through these stories, no matter where we are in the world. But let me start from the beginning, from the moment 6 months ago, when I thought I'd found the answer to all my problems. I was 24 years old when I took the job at the Moretti estate. 24 and desperate in a way that makes you ignore every single red flag waving in your face. My mother was sick. Not the kind of sick where you take some medicine and rest for a week. The kind of sick where doctors use words like aggressive and terminal and experimental treatments that cost more than most people make in a lifetime. I had been working 3 jobs. Waitressing at a diner from 6 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon. Cleaning offices from 3 until 7 in the evening. And doing data entry from home until midnight, sometimes later, my eyes burning from staring at the computer screen. I was making enough to cover rent and food and some of her medications, but not enough for the treatment she needed. Not even close. Then I saw the job posting. Live-in housekeeper for private estate. The salary was 3 times what I was making from all 3 jobs combined. Room and board included. 1 employer, 1 location, 1 chance to actually save my mother's life. I should have known it was too good to be true. I should have asked more questions during the interview. I should have wondered why they needed someone so urgently, why the last 3 housekeepers had all quit within months. But I didn't. Because when you're drowning, you don't question the hand that reaches down to pull you up. You just grab it and hold on. The Moretti estate was beautiful in a way that felt almost aggressive. Massive. Pristine. The kind of place where every surface gleamed and every corner held something worth more than my entire life. The kind of place where people like me became invisible the moment we put on a uniform. Gabriel Moretti himself had barely looked at me during my first week. He was always leaving early, coming back late, spending his time in meetings behind closed doors with men who had hard eyes and harder handshakes. I learned quickly that in his world, you didn't ask questions. You didn't make eye contact unless spoken to. You did your job, kept your head down, and stayed out of the way. I was good at that. Being invisible. I'd been practicing my whole life. But his fiancée, Vanessa Russo, she noticed me from day one. She was beautiful in a sharp, deliberate way. The kind of woman who knew exactly how stunning she was and wielded it like a weapon. Tall, elegant, with dark hair that fell in perfect waves and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. She wore designer everything and moved through the house like she owned it, which I suppose she almost did. She was supposed to marry Gabriel in 3 months. 3 months until she became Mrs. Moretti, until her position went from temporary to permanent. For the first 2 weeks, she was almost nice to me. Polite. Distant. The way rich people are nice to the help when they remember you're human. Then, everything changed. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Gabriel was away on business, wouldn't be back until Friday. Vanessa had been on the phone in the garden, her voice low and intimate in a way that made something in my stomach twist, even though I told myself it was none of my business. I was changing the sheets in the master bedroom, trying to work quickly so I could move on to the next task. The door was open. I wasn't trying to sneak around. I wasn't trying to see anything I shouldn't. But then I heard footsteps. 2 sets. Coming up the stairs. Vanessa's laugh, breathy and warm. And a man's voice, deep but different from Gabriel's. Lighter. Younger. I should have announced myself. Should have said something, made noise, let them know I was there. But I froze. Because something about the situation felt wrong, felt dangerous, and my instincts were screaming at me to stay quiet and stay still. They came into the room. Vanessa and Marco Salvatore. Marco, who was Gabriel's second in command. Marco, who had been at the house a dozen times for meetings. Marco, who was supposed to be loyal to Gabriel above everything else. They didn't see me at first. I was in the corner, half hidden by the open closet door, holding a pillowcase and trying not to breathe. Vanessa pulled Marco toward the bed. The bed I had just stripped. The bed that belonged to her and Gabriel. "We have hours," she said, her hands already working at Marco's shirt buttons. "He won't be back until Friday night. No one's here except the new maid, and she's too scared of her own shadow to be a problem." That's when Marco saw me. His eyes went wide. His whole body went rigid. Vanessa followed his gaze and her face transformed into something I'll never forget. All that beauty twisted into pure rage. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that's more terrifying than screaming. I'm changing the sheets. I wasn't. The words tumbled out of my mouth, tripping over each other. She walked toward me slowly. Marco stayed by the bed, his face pale, his jaw tight. "How long have you been here?" Vanessa asked. "I just came in. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything, I swear. I was just doing my job." I was backing up as I spoke, my spine hitting the wall. She smiled then. And that smile was worse than her anger. "You didn't see anything," she repeated. "You're going to keep it that way. You understand me?" I nodded. Too quickly. Too desperately. "If you say one word to Gabriel, one single word about this, I will destroy you." She was close enough now that I could smell her perfume, expensive and suffocating. "I'll tell him you stole from us. I'll make sure you never work again. I'll make sure your sick mother, yes, I know all about her. I'll make sure she loses every bit of assistance she's getting. You'll have nothing. She'll have nothing. Do you understand me? My mother." She knew about my mother. She had done her research, had found my weakness, and was pressing down on it with both hands. "I understand," I whispered. "Good. Now get out. And Lucia, from now on you work for me. Whatever I need, whenever I need it. You don't question. You don't complain. You don't talk. Or I'll make sure you regret the day you walked into this house." I left. I practically ran from that room, my heart racing so fast I thought I might pass out in the hallway. That was 2 months ago. Since then, Vanessa had been making good on her promise. I worked for her. Not for Gabriel, not for the estate. For her. She started adding tasks to my day. Small things at first. Reorganizing her closet. Hand-washing delicate items that could have gone to the dry cleaner. Preparing elaborate meals that she barely touched. Then the tasks got bigger. Longer. She'd call me at midnight to clean up after one of her parties. She'd wake me at 5 in the morning to drive across town to pick up something she suddenly needed. She'd create messes and demand I clean them immediately, hovering over me to point out every spot I missed. And through it all, Marco kept coming to the house. kept meeting with Vanessa when Gabriel was away, kept looking at me like I was a bomb that might go off at any second. I never said anything. I kept my head down, did what I was told, sent every penny I could to my mother's care facility. But Vanessa, she wasn't satisfied with just overworking me. 3 weeks ago, she started getting physical. It started with a shove when I didn't move out of her way fast enough. Then a slap when I accidentally broke one of her wine glasses. Then worse. Burns from hot pans she'd thrust into my hands without warning. Bruises from being pushed into counters and door frames. A cut on my arm from a broken vase she'd thrown that I was too slow to dodge. I covered them all. Long sleeves, even in summer. Makeup when the marks showed on my face or neck. Lies about being clumsy when anyone noticed. Not that anyone noticed much. Gabriel was gone more than he was home. The other staff kept to themselves. And Vanessa, she was careful. She only hurt me when no one else could see. Tonight was supposed to be my night off. I was supposed to leave at 6, go visit my mother at the care facility an hour away, actually sleep in my own bed for once. But at 5:30, Vanessa had appeared in the kitchen where I was finishing up the dinner prep. Change of plans, she'd said, her voice sweet as poison. I need you to stay tonight. Gabriel's coming back early, and I want everything perfect. You'll deep clean the kitchen, organize the wine cellar, and prep breakfast for tomorrow. Should only take you until, maybe 3 or 4 in the morning. But I have plans, I'd said before I could stop myself. I was supposed to visit your mother? Vanessa's smile widened. How is she doing? Still fighting that nasty cancer? Would be such a shame if something happened to interrupt her treatment. The threat was clear. It was always clear. So I stayed. I worked through the evening, through the night. My body ached. My hands were raw. The fresh burn on my left hand from earlier that day, when Vanessa had deliberately bumped my arm while I was taking a pan out of the oven, throbbed with every movement. By 2 in the morning, I was washing the last of the dishes. Moving on autopilot. Too tired to cry, too angry to quit, too trapped to do anything but keep going. That's when I heard footsteps behind me. That's when I heard his voice. Why are you still here? I turned slowly, carefully arranging my face into something neutral, something that wouldn't give away the fear coursing through my veins. Gabriel Moretti stood in the kitchen doorway, still wearing his suit but with his tie loosened and his jacket over his arm. He looked tired, I realized. There were shadows under his eyes that I'd never noticed before, probably because I'd never been this close to him, never looked at him directly for more than a few seconds. He was looking at me, though. Really looking at me. And there was something in his expression that I couldn't quite read. Confusion, maybe. Or concern. Mr. Moretti, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. I didn't know you were back. Can I get you anything? I asked you a question. He stepped into the kitchen, his eyes scanning the immaculate counters, the organized cabinets, the dishes I was finishing. It's 2 in the morning. Why are you still working? I had some things to catch up on, I said quickly, turning back to the sink. I wanted to make sure everything was ready for tomorrow. I'm almost done. You should have been done hours ago. Don't you have set hours? Yes, but I don't mind staying late. There's always something that needs doing in a house this size. That was the excuse Vanessa had coached me to use. Make it seem like I was the overeager employee, not the terrorized prisoner. I could feel him watching me. Could feel the weight of his attention like a physical thing. You're hurt, he said suddenly. My heart stopped. What? Your hand. You're favoring it. I looked down at the towel wrapped around my left hand, the one covering the burn. In my exhaustion, I'd forgotten to take it off before he saw. Oh, this. It's nothing. Just a small burn from cooking. Happens all the time. I'm clumsy. I laughed, and it sounded hollow even to my own ears. He moved closer. 3 steps, and he was right beside me, reaching for my hand before I could pull away. Let me see. Really, it's fine, His fingers were gentle as they unwrapped the towel. But when he saw the burn, ugly and blistered across my palm and at my wrist, his whole body went still. This is not fine, he said quietly. This needs medical attention. It's not that bad. I've been putting aloe on it. It'll heal. When did this happen? This afternoon. I was careless with the pan. He was quiet for a long moment, still holding my hand, his thumb hovering just above the burn like he wanted to touch it but knew better. When he looked up at me, his eyes were dark and searching, and I felt exposed in a way that had nothing to do with the injury. Are you afraid of something, Lucia? The question hit me like a punch to the stomach. Because, yes, I was afraid. I was terrified. But I couldn't say that.
Couldn't tell him. No, primelit.
Just tired. It's been a long day.
He didn't believe me.
I could see it in his face. But he let go of my hand carefully, rewrapping it in the towel with a gentleness that made my throat tight. Go to bed, he said.
Now.
Whatever's left, it can wait until tomorrow. But I need to. That's not a request. I nodded, pulling my hand back, grabbing my things from the counter where I'd left them. As I headed for the door, I could feel him still watching me. Could feel questions building in the air between us. Lucia, he called just as I reached the doorway. I turned back. If something's wrong, he said slowly, if someone is hurting you, you can tell me. You understand that, right? For a second, just a second, I almost cracked. Almost told him everything. About Vanessa. About Marco. About the threats and the bruises, and the impossible situation I was trapped in. But then I remembered Vanessa's face. Her threats. My mother's treatment that I couldn't afford to lose. Nothing's wrong, I said. But thank you for your concern, Mr. Moretti.
Good night.
I left before he could ask anything else. But as I climbed the stairs to my small room on the 3rd floor, I knew something had shifted. The way he'd looked at me. The way he'd noticed details I thought I'd hidden so carefully. Gabriel Moretti was suspicious. And in his world, when a man like him started digging for answers, he didn't stop until he found them. What I didn't know then, as I collapsed onto my bed still wearing my uniform, was that by tomorrow morning, he would already have started his investigation. That he would spend the next week unraveling every secret in his house. That he would discover things about the people closest to him that would shatter the life he thought he knew. And I definitely didn't know that in 3 weeks, I would be standing beside him as his world burned down, or that he would be looking at me like I was the only solid thing left to hold on to. But that's jumping ahead. And this story, it needs to be told right. Every painful, beautiful, impossible moment of it.
So stay with me.
Because what happened next, what Gabriel found when he started looking, it changed everything.
I didn't sleep that night. How could I?
I lay in my narrow bed staring at the ceiling, replaying those 4 minutes in the kitchen over and over until they didn't feel real anymore. The way Gabriel had looked at my hand. The gentleness in his touch. The question that had cut right through every defense I'd built up. Are you afraid of something, Lucia? Nobody had asked me that in months. Nobody had looked at me long enough to see past the uniform and the automatic smile and the yes, ma'am, right away, ma'am, whatever you need, ma'am. But he had seen something. And that terrified me more than anything Vanessa had done so far. Because if Gabriel started paying attention, really paying attention, Vanessa would know. And when Vanessa felt threatened, people got hurt. I'd learned that lesson the hard way. I must have dozed off sometime around 5, because I woke to my alarm at 6 feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My hand throbbed where the burn pulled at the skin. My back ached from too many hours bent over the sink. My head pounded with exhaustion and stress. But I got up anyway. Put on my uniform. Covered the burn with a fresh bandage. Applied makeup to the fading bruise on my jaw from where Vanessa had grabbed me too hard 3 days ago. Made myself invisible again. When I got down to the kitchen at 6:30, Gabriel was already there. Sitting at the small breakfast table by the window, drinking coffee and reading something on his phone. He was wearing different clothes, which meant he'd actually gone to bed at some point. Unlike me, he looked up when I entered. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Moretti. I moved toward the coffee maker, trying to act normal, trying to pretend my heart wasn't racing. I'll have breakfast ready in 20 minutes. What would you like? Whatever you were planning to make is fine. He paused. How's your hand? Better. Thank you for asking. Lucia, sit down for a minute. I froze. Employers didn't ask the help to sit down. Employers gave orders and expected them to be followed and never invited you into their space like an equal. I really should start breakfast. Miss Russo will be down soon, and Vanessa doesn't wake up before 9. We both know that.
Seek.
There was something in his voice, not quite an order, but not quite a request either. The tone of a man used to being obeyed.
Iset.
Perched on the edge of the chair across from him, like a bird ready to fly away at the first sign of danger. He put his phone down and looked at me. Really looked at me. And under that gaze I felt stripped bare, like he could see every secret I was trying so hard to hide. "How long have you been working here?" he asked. 6 months. Almost 7. And in that time, have I been fair to you? Have I given you any reason to feel unsafe in this house? The questions confused me. You've been very fair, Mr. Moretti. I have no complaints. Then why do you look at me like you're waiting for me to hurt you? The air left my lungs. I don't.
I'm not.
You flinch every time I move too quickly. You apologize for things that don't need apologies. Last night you could barely meet my eyes. That's not the behavior of someone who feels safe.
I didn't know what to say.
Couldn't figure out what answer would satisfy him without revealing too much. I'm just tired. I finally managed. It's been a busy week. Because Vanessa has been giving you extra work. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Like he already knew. Miss Russo has certain standards. I'm happy to meet them. At 2 in the morning? Sometimes maintaining a household this size requires irregular hours. He leaned back in his chair, still watching me with those dark, calculating eyes. You're lying to me. I'm not. You are. And you're scared. What I can't figure out yet is what you're scared of. Or who. Before I could respond, we both heard footsteps on the stairs. Quick, light, feminine. I stood immediately, smoothing down my uniform. I should start breakfast. This conversation isn't over, Gabriel said quietly. But it had to be, because Vanessa appeared in the doorway, beautiful and perfectly put together even at 7 in the morning, and her eyes went immediately to me standing near her fiancé's table. "Lucia," she said, her voice bright and sharp as broken glass. "Why aren't you working? We have guests coming for lunch, and the house is a disaster." "I was just starting breakfast, Miss Russo." "Well, hurry up. And after breakfast, I need you to reorganize the entire dining room. Everything. China, crystal, linens. I want it all cleaned and resorted." "That's at least an 8-hour job," Gabriel said, standing up. "She can't do that and prepare for lunch guests." Vanessa's smile didn't waver, but something cold flashed in her eyes. "Then I guess she'll have to work quickly. That's what we pay her for, isn't it? To work. We pay her to maintain the household, not to do impossible tasks on no sleep." "How do you know she had no sleep?" Vanessa moved closer to him, her hand sliding up his arm in a gesture that looked affectionate but had claws underneath. "Have you been checking on the help, darling? I came home at 2 in the morning and found her still working. She had a serious burn on her hand that should have been treated hours earlier. So yes, I'm concerned about how we're treating our staff." Vanessa's eyes cut to me, for just a second. A warning. A threat. Then back to Gabriel, soft and sweet. "Oh, the burn.
Lucia told me about that."
So clumsy, aren't you, dear? I keep telling you to be more careful around the stove." "Yes, Miss Russo. I'm sorry, Miss Russo." "See." Vanessa smiled at Gabriel. It was her own carelessness. And as for the late hours, I gave her the option to leave, but she insisted on staying to finish. She's very dedicated. That's why we hired her. The lie was so smooth, so believable. And I couldn't contradict it. Couldn't say anything to expose it. Gabriel looked at me. Is that true? This was the moment. The choice. Tell the truth and risk everything, or keep lying and stay trapped. I thought of my mother, of the treatment she was getting, of the facility that was keeping her alive. "Yes, Mr. Moretti. That's true." Something in his expression hardened, like he'd hoped I would trust him and was disappointed that I hadn't.
"Fine," he said.
"But from now on, no one works past 10 at night unless it's an emergency." That's an order for everyone in this household. Of course, darling. Vanessa kissed his cheek. Whatever you think is best. Now, I'm sure Lucia has work to do. Don't you, Lucia? Yes, Miss Russo. I escaped to the kitchen, my hands shaking as I started pulling ingredients for breakfast. Through the doorway, I could hear them talking, voices low. I couldn't make out the words, but I could hear the tone. Vanessa, soothing and sweet. Gabriel, still tense. 20 minutes later, I served them breakfast. Eggs, toast, fresh fruit, exactly how they liked it. Vanessa didn't touch hers. Just pushed it around her plate while talking about the lunch party, about some charity event next week, about needing to go shopping for a new dress. Gabriel ate in silence, occasionally glancing at his phone, occasionally glancing at me when he thought I wasn't looking. When they finished, I cleared the dishes. Vanessa left to get ready for her day. Gabriel disappeared into his office. And I started on the dining room. It was going to be impossible. Everything she'd asked for, it couldn't be done in the time she'd given me.
But I tried anyway.
Because what else could I do? I was 3 hours in, covered in dust from pulling down the high china, when Marco showed up. He let himself in through the back door, like he always did. Like he had every right to be there. When he saw me in the dining room, he stopped. We hadn't been alone together since that day I'd found him with Vanessa. He'd avoided me, and I'd avoided him, both of us pretending that moment had never happened. Lucia, he said carefully. I kept working. Mr. Salvatore. Where's Vanessa? Upstairs. Getting ready. He should have left then. Should have gone to find her. But instead he stepped into the dining room, closing the door behind him. We need to talk, he said. I have work to do. This is important. He moved closer, and I instinctively stepped back, my shoulder blades hitting the china cabinet.
You know what you saw.
You know what could happen if you told Gabriel. I'm not going to tell anyone anything. Vanessa doesn't trust you. She thinks you're looking for an opportunity to expose her. I'm not. I just want to do my job and be left alone. That's not how Vanessa operates. She needs to know you're completely under control. His voice dropped lower.
She's planning something.
I don't know what, but she's getting paranoid. More aggressive. You need to be careful. Why are you telling me this? He ran a hand through his hair, looking genuinely distressed for the first time. Because I'm not a monster. I know what she's doing to you. I see the marks. I hear how she talks to you when she thinks no one's listening. Then why don't you stop her? Because I can't. The admission seemed to cost him something. I'm in too deep. She has things on me, evidence of things I've done that would destroy my life if they came out. I'm as trapped as you are. That's not my problem. It is when she's using me to threaten you. When she says she'll have me hurt you if you step out of line. She's done it before, Lucia. The last maid who worked here, the one who quit suddenly, Vanessa had me arrange an accident for her. Nothing fatal, just enough to scare her into silence. I don't want to do that to you. Ice ran down my spine. You're saying if I don't stay quiet, you'll hurt me. I'm saying you need to be more careful. Vanessa noticed Gabriel talking to you this morning. She's already suspicious. Don't give her a reason to act. I'm not giving anyone any reasons for anything. I'm just trying to survive. Then keep surviving. Keep your head down. And whatever you do, don't trust Gabriel to protect you. He's loyal to Vanessa. When it comes down to it, he'll believe her over you every single time. He left through the back door, leaving me alone with china cabinets and crystal and the crushing weight of knowing that even the people who felt guilty about what was happening to me wouldn't actually help. I worked through lunch, through the afternoon. When the guests arrived at 1, Vanessa was the perfect hostess. Charming and elegant and gracious. She introduced me to everyone as our wonderful housekeeper, and didn't mention that I'd been working for 14 hours straight with one short break. Gabriel spent most of the party in his office taking calls. When he did appear, he was quiet, watchful. I caught him looking at me twice, his expression unreadable. The guests left at 4. Vanessa disappeared upstairs for a nap. And I was still in the dining room, putting away the last of the reorganized china, when Gabriel appeared in the doorway. You've been working all day, he observed. The dining room's finished. Everything's reorganized like Miss Russo wanted. Show me your hand. Mr. Moretti. Show me. I held out my bandaged hand. He took it carefully, unwrapping the gauze I'd changed at lunch. The burn looked worse than yesterday. Angrier. More painful. This should have been seen by a doctor, he said quietly. Why didn't you say something? I didn't want to be any trouble. You're not trouble. You're injured. He rewrapped my hand with surprising skill. I'm calling our doctor. He'll come by tomorrow to look at this. That's really not necessary. It's not a suggestion. He was still holding my hand. Both of us were very aware of it. Why do you flinch every time Vanessa enters a room? He asked suddenly. The question caught me completely off guard. I don't. You do. I've been watching you today. Every time she comes near you, your whole body tenses. Like you're expecting to be hit. Mr. Moretti, I really don't think. Has she hit you? The question hung in the air between us.
Heavy.
Dangerous. I wanted to tell him yes. Wanted to show him every bruise, every scar, every mark she'd left on me. Wanted to beg him to help me, to save me, to make it stop. But I thought about my mother, about the threats, about what Vanessa would do if I broke now.
No, primelit.
She hasn't. You're misreading the situation. He studied my face for a long moment. You're protecting someone. Or protecting yourself. I can't tell which yet. There's nothing to protect anyone from.
I'm fine.
Everything's fine. Then why are you crying? I touched my face and realized tears were running down my cheeks. I hadn't even felt them start.
I'm just tired, I vispred.
Lucia. He reached up like he was going to wipe away the tears, then stopped himself, dropped his hand, stepped back. I can't help you if you won't tell me the truth. I'm not asking for help. Maybe you should be. Before I could respond, Vanessa's voice called from upstairs. Gabriel, are you down there? I need you. He looked at me for one more second. Then he turned and left, leaving me alone in the dining room with my lies and my fears and the growing certainty that everything was about to fall apart. Because here's what I didn't understand yet. Gabriel Moretti hadn't gotten to where he was by accepting the easy answers. He'd built an empire by finding the truth that other people tried to hide, by following instincts that told him when something was wrong. And his instincts were screaming at him now. That night, after everyone else had gone to bed, Gabriel went into his private office and pulled up the security camera feeds. He rewound through the last week, watching, learning. He saw me working at midnight, at 1 a.m, at 2. Saw Vanessa giving me orders and walking away with a smile. Saw Marco showing up at odd hours when Gabriel was away. The cameras didn't show him everything. They couldn't capture the bruises under my sleeves or the threats whispered in corners. But they showed him enough to know something was very, very wrong in his house. And when Gabriel Moretti knew something was wrong, he didn't stop digging until he found the rot. But I didn't know that yet. Didn't know he'd already started his investigation. Didn't know that every lie I told to protect myself was just making him more determined to uncover the truth. I just knew that when I finally made it to my room that night at 11:30, exhausted and hurting and scared, I found a note slipped under my door. It was in Vanessa's handwriting. Just 4 words. I'm watching you. Always. I crumpled the note and shoved it in my pocket, crawled into bed fully clothed, and cried into my pillow where no one could hear me. Tomorrow would come, and with it, more work, more pain, more lies. That's what my life had become. An endless cycle of survival where the finish line kept moving further away. But what I didn't know, what I couldn't have predicted, was that tomorrow Gabriel would find something on those security cameras that would change everything. Something that would finally give him the proof he needed to start tearing down the careful facade Vanessa had built. And once he started pulling that thread, the whole thing was going to unravel. The doctor came at 9 the next morning. Dr. Raymond Chen, mid-50s, kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, carrying a leather medical bag that looked older than I was. Gabriel had called him personally. I knew this because Vanessa told me, her voice tight with barely concealed anger as she stood in my doorway at 7 that morning. The doctor will be here at 9 to look at your hand, she'd said, her smile sharp enough to cut. Isn't that thoughtful of Gabriel? So concerned about the help. You'll tell him it was an accident. That you're clumsy. That everything is perfectly fine here. Won't you? Yes, Miss Russo.
Good.
Because if you don't, I'll make one phone call and your mother's treatment stops today. They'll move her to a state facility where the care is, let's say, significantly less attentive. She won't last a month. Do you understand? I understand. Excellent. Now, get downstairs. The kitchen floor needs scrubbing. So when Dr. Chen arrived and Gabriel brought him up to my small room, I was prepared. Had my story ready. Had my lies lined up like soldiers. Miss Torres, Dr. Chen said warmly, setting his bag on my narrow bed. Let's take a look at this hand. I held it out. He unwrapped the bandage carefully, his expression growing more concerned as he saw the burn. This is a second-degree burn, he said. Possibly third degree in some spots. How did this happen? I was careless taking a pan out of the oven. My fault entirely. When? 2 days ago. He glanced at Gabriel, who was standing in the doorway watching everything. This should have been treated immediately. Burns like this, if they get infected, can cause serious complications. I know. I should have said something sooner. I just didn't want to be any trouble. Dr. Chen began treating the burn, applying ointment that stung so badly I had to bite my lip to keep from crying out. You're not trouble. Injuries are serious. You should never feel like you can't ask for help. If only it were that simple. As he worked, he kept talking. Small talk mostly. Asking about how I liked working here, how long I'd been in the city, where I was from. I gave short answers. Polite but distant. Then he asked to see my other hand. Why? The question came out too sharp, too defensive. Just want to make sure everything's healing properly. You mentioned you're clumsy. Want to check there aren't other injuries I should know about. There aren't. I've fine. Humor me. I looked at Gabriel. He was watching me with that same intense focus from yesterday, like he could see through every wall I'd built. Slowly, I held out my other hand. Dr. Chen took it gently, turned it over, pushed up my sleeve just a few inches. And there they were, the bruises. 5 of them, perfectly shaped like fingers. From where Vanessa had grabbed my wrist and twisted 3 days ago when I'd accidentally used the wrong wine glasses for her lunch party. The room went very quiet. How did you get these? Dr. Chen asked, his voice carefully neutral. I bumped into a door. These are finger marks. Someone grabbed you. Hard. No, my voice was shaking. I bruise easily. It's nothing. Dr. Chen looked at Gabriel. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Lucia, Gabriel said quietly. Tell the truth. I am telling the truth. You're lying. You've been lying since the moment I found you in that kitchen 2 nights ago. And I'm done pretending I don't see it. Mr. Moretti, please.
I'm fine.
Everything's fine. Show him your arms, Gabriel said. Both of them. All the way up.
No.
That's not a request. You can't make me. I can and I will. Either you show us voluntarily, or I'll have Dr. Chen examine you properly. Your choice. I felt trapped. Cornered. Like an animal with nowhere left to run. If I show you, I whispered, she'll know. She'll know you know, and she'll what? Gabriel moved into the room, closing the door behind him. What will Vanessa do? Hearing her name out loud made everything real in a way it hadn't been before. I can't, I said. I can't tell you. You don't understand what's at stake. Then help me understand. I looked at Dr. Chen. He gave me a small, encouraging nod. Whatever you tell us stays between us. Doctor-patient confidentiality. Even if someone asks, I won't say a word. She's not just hurting me. I heard myself say. She's threatening my mother. If I say anything, if I cause any trouble, she'll make sure my mother loses her treatment.
She'll die.
That's not an exaggeration. That's a fact. Gabriel's expression darkened. How long has this been going on? 2 months. Since I stopped myself. Since you what? This was it. The moment where I either stayed silent and kept suffering, or told the truth and gambled everything on the hope that Gabriel would actually help me instead of taking Vanessa's side. Since I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. What did you see? I looked at the door. At the walls. At everywhere except his face. I can't. If I tell you, everything falls apart. Not just for me. For you too. Lucia, look at me. He waited until I did. I need you to trust me. Whatever it is, whatever you saw, I can handle it. But I can't help you if you don't tell me the truth. You'll hate me for it. I won't. You'll think I'm trying to cause trouble. That I'm lying to break you and Miss Russo up. I'll think you're telling me something I need to know. Please. Dr. Chin stood up. I'm going to step outside. Give you two some privacy. Lucia, I'll be right outside the door if you need me. He left, closing the door quietly behind him. Gabriel moved the chair from my small desk, positioned it in front of me, and sat down so we were at eye level. Start from the beginning, he said.
So I did.
I told him about the Tuesday afternoon 2 months ago. About changing sheets in his bedroom. About hearing footsteps and voices. About seeing Vanessa and Marco come into the room together. His face remained expressionless, but I saw his hands clench into fists. I told him about the threats. About the extra work. About the physical abuse that had started small and gotten progressively worse. About the burns and the bruises and the cuts. About working 16, 18, 20-hour days. About being called worthless and stupid and ugly. About Marco's warning yesterday that Vanessa was getting more paranoid, more dangerous. When I finished, the silence stretched so long I thought maybe he didn't believe me. Maybe he thought I was lying after all. Then he stood up and walked to the window, looked out at the grounds for a long moment. I'm sorry, I said quietly. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear. I know you love her, and you're planning to marry her, and I just destroyed all of that. But you asked for the truth, and that's the truth. Every word of it. Show me, he said without turning around. Show me what she's done to you. Mr. Moretti. Show me. My hands were shaking as I stood up, as I pushed up both sleeves to reveal the bruises in various stages of healing. Yellow, purple, green. Finger marks and grip marks and impact marks. I pulled down the collar of my uniform to show him the burn on my shoulder from where Vanessa had pressed a hot iron against me last week when I'd folded her blouse wrong. I showed him the cut on my forearm from the broken vase, the bruise on my hip from being shoved into the counter, the marks on my wrist from being grabbed. When I was done, I felt exposed, vulnerable, like I'd stripped away the last piece of protection I had. Gabriel turned around, and the look on his face, it wasn't pity. It wasn't even anger. It was something colder. Something more dangerous. Get dressed, he said. Pack a bag. You're not staying in this house another night. Where will I go? I have an apartment in the city. No one knows about it except me and my lawyer. You'll stay there until I figure this out. But my mother's treatment will continue. I'll make sure of it personally. In fact, I'll make sure she gets moved to the best facility in the state. Private room. Round-the-clock care. Whatever she needs. I can't accept that. It's too much. You can and you will. This is not negotiable. He moved toward the door, then stopped. How much evidence do you have? Recordings? Messages? Anything concrete? Nothing. She was always careful. Always made sure there were no witnesses, no cameras. There are cameras everywhere in this house. Not in places where she hurt me. She knew where they were. She made sure to avoid them. His smile was cold. She thought she knew where they were. Last year I had additional cameras installed. Hidden ones. Even Vanessa doesn't know about them. Which means everything that happened, every threat, every instance of abuse, it's all recorded. Hope flared in my chest for the first time in months. You can prove it. I can prove it. But first I need to see the footage myself. Need to document everything properly. Build a case that's absolutely airtight. He opened the door. Pack your things. I'll have Marco come get you in an hour.
Marco?
But he's
Exactly.
involved in this too. And he's going to help you leave this house, or I'm going to make sure he spends the next 20 years in prison for things that have nothing to do with Vanessa. He'll choose wisely. What are you going to tell Miss Russo? Nothing yet. As far as she knows, the doctor checked your hand and everything's fine. You're going to keep working today like normal. Tonight, when she's asleep, you're going to leave. By the time she realizes you're gone, you'll be safe and I'll have all the evidence I need. She'll be furious. She'll be a lot more than furious when I'm done with her. He left, taking Dr. Chen with him. I heard them talking in low voices as they went down the stairs, and I stood alone in my small room, hardly daring to believe that maybe, finally, someone was going to help me. That maybe this nightmare was almost over. I should have packed immediately. Should have followed Gabriel's instructions exactly. But I needed to see my mother first. Needed to tell her what was happening. Needed to know she was okay before everything exploded. So at noon, when Vanessa went out for lunch with friends and Gabriel was locked in his office reviewing security footage, I slipped out the back door. The care facility was an hour away by bus. I'd texted my mother's nurse that I was coming, that it was important. My mother looked tired when I arrived. Thinner than last time. Her skin had that papery quality that comes with long illness. But her eyes were clear, and she smiled when she saw me. "Baby girl," she said, holding out her hands. "What are you doing here in the middle of the day?" I sat beside her bed and took her hands carefully. "Things are changing, Mama. Good changes. I need to tell you about them." So I did. I told her everything. About Vanessa and the abuse. About Gabriel finding out. About the plan to move me somewhere safe. She cried. "Why didn't you tell me before? Why did you suffer alone?" "Because you needed this treatment. Because I couldn't risk losing it. I would rather die than have you hurt for me." "Don't say that. You're getting better. You're going to beat this." We talked for 2 hours. Made plans. Cried together. Laughed about stupid things that didn't matter. I didn't notice the time passing. Didn't notice my phone buzzing with messages. Didn't notice that I'd been gone far longer than I'd intended. When I finally checked my phone, my blood ran cold. 15 missed calls from Gabriel. 20 text messages. The last one, sent 10 minutes ago, made my heart stop. "Where are you?" "Vanessa knows. Get somewhere safe now." I called him immediately. He answered on the first ring. "Where the hell are you?" His voice was sharp with panic. "At my mother's facility." "What happened?" "Vanessa came home early. Went to your room. Saw your bag half packed. She knows you're planning to leave, and she knows I'm helping you." Marco told her everything. "But you said you'd threaten him." "I did. But Vanessa has more on him than I realized. She owns him completely. He warned her the second I left to review the footage. Now she's threatening to disappear you before I can get to you." "What's the address of that facility?" I told him. "Stay there. Stay in public areas where there are witnesses. I'm coming to get you right now. I'm 20 minutes away." "What about my mother?" "I'll arrange security for her too. Just don't move. Don't go anywhere alone. Don't." The line went dead. I pulled the phone away from my ear. The call had dropped. I tried calling back. Nothing. No signal. That's when I noticed the man standing near the nurse's station. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark suit. He was watching me, and I recognized him. I'd seen him at the house before. One of Marco's associates. He started walking toward me. I ran. Through the halls of the facility, my footsteps echoing on linoleum. Past startled nurses and confused visitors. Out the back door, into the parking lot. I could hear him behind me. Heavy footsteps. Getting closer. I fumbled for my car keys, but I didn't have a car. I'd taken the bus. There was nowhere to go. Nowhere to hide. "Miss Torres," the man called. His voice was almost polite. "Ms. Russo would like to speak with you. Please don't make this difficult." I kept running. Across the parking lot. Toward the street. That's when I saw Gabriel's black SUV screech into the parking lot, cutting off the man's path. Gabriel jumped out, and the look on his face was terrifying. "Get in the car. Now." I dove into the passenger seat. Gabriel got behind the wheel, and we were moving before I'd even closed the door. In the rearview mirror, I saw the man on his phone, reporting back, telling Vanessa I'd gotten away. Are you hurt? Gabriel asked, his voice tight.
No.
I'm sorry. I just needed to see my mother. I didn't think. You didn't think Vanessa would have people watching the facility? You didn't think she'd have every place you might go covered? He slammed his hand against the steering wheel. Damn it, Lucia. You were supposed to stay at the house until tonight. I know. I'm sorry. My voice broke. I was scared I'd never see her again. His expression softened slightly. You will. I promise you. But right now we need to disappear. Vanessa knows you talked. She knows I'm protecting you. She's going to come at us with everything she has. What about Marco? He'll tell her where we're going. Marco doesn't know where we're going. Nobody does. I've been planning for this possibility longer than you realize. What possibility? He glanced at me. The possibility that everyone closest to me might be lying. I've had exit strategies in place for months. Safe houses. New identities. Money that can't be traced. I just never thought I'd need them for this. We drove in silence for a while. Out of the city. Onto back roads. Away from everything familiar. Finally, Gabriel spoke again. I reviewed 6 weeks of footage today. Every hidden camera. Every angle. I saw what she did to you. All of it. I'm sorry you had to see that. Don't apologize. You have nothing to apologize for. She's a monster. And Marco, he's worse for standing by and letting it happen. They're both going to pay for what they did.
How?
I have evidence.
Videos. Audio.
Text messages I pulled from Marco's phone remotely. Enough to bury them both legally. But more than that, I have connections. Resources. The kind of power that doesn't need courts to deliver justice. There was something in his voice that reminded me exactly who he was. What he was capable of. You're going to kill them, I said quietly. I'm going to make sure they never hurt anyone again. There's a difference. Is there? He looked at me. In my world?
Yes.
Killing them would be merciful. What I'm planning is much worse than that. We drove for another hour. Eventually pulling up to a small house on the edge of a lake. Remote. Isolated. Beautiful. This is one of my safe properties, Gabriel said. No paper trail. Paid for in cash years ago. Vanessa doesn't know it exists. We'll stay here while I finalize everything. And then what? Then I go back, and I take apart everything Vanessa has built. Her reputation. Her relationships. Her freedom. And when I'm done, the whole world will know exactly what kind of person she really is. We went inside. The house was small but comfortable. 2 bedrooms. A kitchen. Large windows overlooking the lake. Gabriel made coffee while I sat at the kitchen table, still shaking from the adrenaline. Your mother will be moved to a new facility tomorrow morning, he said, handing me a mug. Top security. Best doctors in the country. I've already arranged everything. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. This happened because you worked for me. Because I didn't see what was happening in my own house. That's on me. You couldn't have known. I should have known. I've built my entire life on reading people, on seeing threats before they materialize. But I was blind with Vanessa. Saw what I wanted to see instead of what was really there. You loved her. I thought I did. But love doesn't make you blind unless you let it. I let it. And you paid the price. He sat across from me, ran a hand through his hair. He looked exhausted. Why are you really doing this? I asked. You could just fire me.
Pay me off.
Make this all go away quietly. Because it's the right thing to do. You're a mafia boss. Since when do you care about doing the right thing? He smiled grimly. Fair point. Truth is, I've been looking for a reason to end things with Vanessa for months. Something felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it, but my instincts kept warning me. Then I found you in that kitchen, saw the fear in your eyes, and everything clicked into place. So, I'm convenient. A good excuse.
No.
You're a victim who deserves justice. And maybe, just maybe, you're also the person who's going to help me remember why I got into this business in the first place. Which was to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. To punish people who thought they were untouchable. Somewhere along the way, I forgot that. Started making compromises. Making deals with people I should have destroyed. Vanessa was one of those compromises. Not anymore. We sat in silence for a while. The sun was setting over the lake, painting everything gold and orange. What happens now? I asked. Now you rest.
Heal.
Let me handle everything else. I want to help. You've already helped by telling me the truth. The rest is my job. She's not going to just let this go. She'll come after me. After my mother. She'll destroy everything she can. Let her try. His eyes were hard as stone. I've been playing nice for too long. It's time people remembered who I am and what I'm capable of. Vanessa's about to learn that lesson the hard way. That night, I slept in a real bed for the first time in months without fear. Without waiting for footsteps outside my door. Without bracing myself for morning and all the pain it would bring. And in the other room, Gabriel sat at a laptop, methodically building the case that would destroy Vanessa Russo and Marco Salvatore. He had the evidence. He had the motive. He had the power. All he needed now was the perfect moment to strike. And that moment was coming faster than any of us realized. Because Vanessa Russo wasn't the type to sit back and wait for judgment. She was the type to attack first, ask questions never. And she'd just realized that the two people who could destroy her were hiding together somewhere beyond her reach. That made us both targets. And in Vanessa's world, targets didn't last long. I woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of Gabriel's voice, low and intense, coming from the living room. It took me a moment to remember where I was. To remember that I was safe. That I'd actually escaped. The clock on the nightstand said 8 in the morning. I'd slept for almost 12 hours. My body still ached, but it was a different kind of ache now. The ache of finally being able to rest instead of the ache of constant abuse. I got up slowly, changed into clean clothes that Gabriel must have brought in while I was sleeping. Simple things. Jeans and a sweater. Nothing like the uniform I'd worn every day for months. When I came out to the living room, Gabriel was standing by the window, phone pressed to his ear. His expression was dark. I don't care what she's saying, he said into the phone. The answer is no. She doesn't get access to anything until I say so. A pause. Then she can be angry. Let me know if she tries anything else. He hung up and turned to me. Good morning. Coffee's in the kitchen. Help yourself to whatever you want for breakfast. What was that about? Vanessa. She's making moves. Trying to freeze my assets, claiming I'm having some kind of mental breakdown. Trying to get control of the estate while I'm supposedly incapacitated. Can she do that? She can try. But my lawyers are better than hers. She'll realize that soon enough. He poured himself more coffee. Your mother was moved this morning. The new facility is top tier. I spoke with her doctor myself. She's settled in and asking about you. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. For everything. Don't thank me yet. This is far from over. He was right. Over the next 3 days, Vanessa launched a full-scale campaign to find us and destroy whatever evidence we might have. She reported me as a thief to the police, claiming I'd stolen jewelry and cash before disappearing. Gabriel had to call in favors to get those charges dropped before they went anywhere. She went to the media, spinning a story about how her fiancé had been seduced by a manipulative maid who was now blackmailing them. That one was harder to contain. By the second day, my photo was on gossip websites with headlines like Homewrecker Housekeeper and Maid Scheme to Steal Mafia Boss. Don't read that garbage, Gabriel said when he caught me looking at my phone. None of it's true, and everyone who matters knows it. Everyone who matters believes her. She's convincing. I've seen her lie before. She's good at it. She's good at lying to people who want to believe her. But I have evidence. Video evidence. The kind that doesn't lie. When are you going to release it? When the time is right. When it will do the most damage. Vanessa's building herself up right now, making herself the victim. The higher she climbs, the harder she'll fall. But waiting was torture. Every day that passed felt like giving Vanessa more ammunition. More time to turn people against us. More time to plan whatever she was planning. On the 4th day, Marco showed up. I was in the kitchen making lunch when I heard a car pull up. Looked out the window and saw Marco's familiar vehicle. My heart started racing. Gabriel, I called. Marco's here. Gabriel came out of the office where he'd been working. His expression was calm, but I saw his hand move to the gun he kept holstered under his jacket. Stay inside, he said. Lock the door behind me. What if it's a trap? Then I'll handle it. Lock the door. He went outside. I locked the door and watched through the window, my heart pounding. Marco got out of his car slowly, hands visible. No weapons that I could see. They talked for several minutes. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see the tension in both their bodies. Marco was gesturing, explaining something. Gabriel was still listening, calculating. Then Marco handed him something. An envelope. They talked for few more minutes. Then Marco got back in his car and left. Gabriel came back inside, the envelope in his hand. What was that? I asked. Marco's attempt at redemption. He opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of papers. Financial records. Proof that Vanessa's been embezzling from my businesses for months. Moving money into offshore accounts under fake names. She's been planning her exit strategy for a while. Why would Marco give you that? Because Vanessa just threw him under the bus. Told the police he's been threatening her. Told them he's dangerous and unstable. She's setting him up to take the fall for everything. So now he's willing to testify against her. Give us everything he knows. Can you trust him?
No.
But I can verify what he's giving me. And if it checks out, it's one more nail in her coffin. Over the next week, more people started coming forward. Staff members from the estate who'd witnessed Vanessa's behavior but had been too afraid to say anything. Business associates who'd had uncomfortable interactions with her. Even some of her supposed friends who were willing to talk once they realized the tide was turning. Gabriel collected it all. Built his case piece by piece. And through it all, he was different with me. Gentler. More open. We'd have coffee in the mornings and talk about things that had nothing to do with Vanessa or the case. He told me about growing up in his family, about the choices that had led him into this life. I told him about my mother, about the dreams I'd had before everything fell apart. Late at night, when neither of us could sleep, we'd sit by the lake and watch the stars. What will you do after this is over? He asked me one night. I don't know. Find another job, I guess. Try to rebuild some kind of normal life. You could work for me. Legitimately. Not as a maid. I have businesses that need good people. I don't know anything about business. You're smart. You're observant. You survived 2 months of hell without breaking. That's more valuable than any degree. I looked at him. In the moonlight, he looked younger. Less dangerous. Why are you being so nice to me? Because you deserve it. That's not an answer. He was quiet for a moment. Because you're the first person in years who's been honest with me. Who hasn't wanted something from me or been afraid of me. You see me as a person, not as a position or a threat. That's rare in my world. I'm still afraid of you sometimes. You're intense. Intense. That's diplomatic. You're also kind. Underneath all the danger and the power. You're kind. That's even more rare.
He turned to look at me.
Lucia. Don't. I stood up. Whatever you're about to say, don't. This whole situation is complicated enough without adding anything else to it. What if I want to add something else to it? Then you're not thinking clearly. I'm grateful for your help. I'll always be grateful. But gratitude isn't the same as whatever you think this is. I know the difference.
Do you?
Because from where I'm standing, you just got out of a relationship with a woman who abused your maid and cheated on you. Maybe what you're feeling isn't about me at all. Maybe it's just about wanting something real after realizing how fake everything with Vanessa was. He stood up too, moving closer. You think I can't tell the difference between rebound feelings and actually caring about someone? I think you're in the middle of a crisis, and I'm here, and I'm safe, and I'm grateful. That's a dangerous combination. You're also brave and strong and more resilient than anyone I've ever met. You stood up to someone who terrified you because you knew it was right. You protected your mother, even when it meant suffering yourself. You're still standing even after everything you've been through. That's not just circumstance. That's who you are. Gabriel. I'm not asking you for anything, he said quietly. I'm just telling you what I see when I look at you. And what I see is someone extraordinary. Before I could respond, his phone rang. He answered it, his expression shifting immediately. When? A pause. How bad? Another pause. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. That was the facility. Your mother's taken a turn. They don't think it's life-threatening, but they want you there. Everything else disappeared. We need to go.
Now.
It could be a trap. Vanessa could be using this to draw us out. I don't care. If my mother needs me, I'm going. I know. That's why I'm coming with you. But we do this smart. We bring backup. We take precautions. 25 minutes later, we were in the car with two of Gabriel's most trusted people following behind us in a second vehicle. The drive felt endless. Every minute that passed was a minute my mother might be getting worse. When we finally arrived at the facility, everything looked normal. No suspicious cars.
No obvious threats.
But I still felt watched. We went inside. The head nurse met us at the front desk. Ms. Torres, thank you for coming so quickly. Your mother had a seizure about an hour ago. We got her stabilized, but the doctor wants to discuss her treatment plan with you. Is she awake?
Yes.
She's been asking for you. I practically ran to her room. Gabriel followed at a more measured pace, his eyes scanning everything. My mother looked small and fragile in the hospital bed. But when she saw me, she smiled. Baby girl. I told them not to worry you. They were right to call. What happened? Just my body being dramatic.
I've fine.
The doctor came in and explained the situation. The seizure had been related to her medication levels. They were adjusting the dosages. It wasn't as serious as it had sounded on the phone. I stayed with her for 2 hours, holding her hand, talking about nothing important, just being together. Gabriel waited outside, giving us privacy, but staying close enough to respond if anything went wrong. When I finally came out, he was talking on his phone again. His expression was grim. What's wrong? I asked. That was one of my contacts at the police department. Vanessa just filed a restraining order against both of us. Claims we're stalking her, threatening her. She's building a legal case to make us look like the aggressors. Can she do that? She can try, but restraining orders go both ways. I'm filing one against her too. And unlike her claims, mine come with video evidence. When are you going to release that evidence?
Soon.
I'm waiting for one more piece to fall into place. What piece? Vanessa's planning something big. I can feel it. She's been too quiet the last 2 days. Too cooperative with my lawyers. That's not her style. She's setting something up, and I need to know what it is before I make my move. We drove back to the safe house in silence. I was exhausted from the emotional roller coaster of the day. Gabriel was tense, clearly working through scenarios in his head. When we got back, there was a package on the doorstep. Gabriel stopped me before I could get close to it. Stay back. What is it? I don't know. But I didn't order anything and no one should know we're here. He called one of his security people. They came and examined the package carefully. Finally opened it. Inside was a tablet. Just a tablet, already powered on. The screen showed a video. Pre-recorded. Vanessa's face filled the frame. She was smiling. Hello, Gabriel. Hello, Lucia. I hope you're enjoying your little hideaway. Did you really think I wouldn't find you? I've known where you were since day 2. I have people everywhere. People loyal to me, not you. Gabriel's jaw clenched. I've been very patient, Vanessa continued on the video. Letting you have your little investigation. Letting you gather your evidence. But patience has limits. So here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow at noon, you're going to meet me at the estate. Just you, Gabriel.
No lawyers.
No security.
No Lucia.
We're going to have a conversation about how this ends. And if you don't show up, well, I have people at Lucia's mother's facility. It would be such a tragedy if something happened to interrupt her care. An equipment malfunction, perhaps. A medication error. These things happen in hospitals all the time. The video ended. I felt sick. She's threatening my mother again. She's bluffing. Gabriel said, but his voice was tight. I have security at the facility. She can't get to your mother. You sure about that? She just proved she knows where we are. That she's been tracking us this whole time. What else does she know? Who else has she gotten to? He didn't answer. Because he couldn't. Because Vanessa had just reminded us both that in this game, she was still a player. Still dangerous. I'm going tomorrow, Gabriel said finally. I'll meet with her. It's a trap. Probably. But I can't risk your mother. And more than that, I'm done hiding. I'm done letting her control the narrative. Tomorrow we end this. One way or another. That night, neither of us slept. Gabriel was on his laptop and phone, making arrangements, planning for every possible scenario. I sat by the window, watching the lake, wondering if we'd made a terrible mistake by thinking we could beat someone like Vanessa at her own game. Because the truth was, Vanessa had been playing this game her whole life. She knew every dirty trick, every manipulation, every weakness to exploit. And tomorrow, she was going to use all of them. What I didn't know yet, what none of us knew, was that Vanessa had made one critical error. She'd underestimated exactly how far Gabriel was willing to go to protect the people he cared about. And she'd underestimated me. Underestimated how strong I'd become from surviving her abuse. How determined I was to make sure she never hurt anyone again. Tomorrow wasn't going to be the end Vanessa had planned. It was going to be the beginning of her complete and total destruction. But first, we had to survive whatever trap she'd set. And in 12 hours, we'd find out exactly what that trap looked like. The estate looked exactly the same as it had 2 weeks ago. Same pristine lawn. Same imposing gates. Same sense of wealth that felt almost oppressive in its perfection. But everything was different now. Because I knew what happened inside those walls. I knew the monster that lived there wearing designer clothes and a beautiful smile. Gabriel had insisted I stay at the safe house. Had practically ordered me to remain behind while he walked into what we both knew was a trap. I'd agreed. To his face. While crossing my fingers behind my back like a child making a promise she had no intention of keeping. Because there was no way I was letting him face Vanessa alone. Not after everything. Not when she'd spent 2 months making my life hell and was now threatening the only family I had left. So I'd waited exactly 20 minutes after he left. Then I'd taken the second car, the one his security team had left behind. Drove the hour back to the estate. Parked down the road where no one would see. And now I was doing something incredibly stupid. I was sneaking into a house owned by a Mafia boss to spy on a meeting with his psychotic ex-fiancée. My hands were shaking as I approached the back entrance. The one the staff used. The one I'd used every single day for 6 months. The door was unlocked. That should have been my first warning. Vanessa never left doors unlocked. She was paranoid about security. But I was too focused on getting inside to think clearly. Too determined to help Gabriel somehow. I slipped through the kitchen. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Where was the staff? There should have been someone here. The cook. The other housekeeper.
Someone.
Voices came from the main sitting room. Gabriel's voice, low and controlled. Vanessa's voice, sharp and triumphant. I crept closer, staying in the hallway where I could hear, but not be seen. You actually came alone, Vanessa was saying.
I'm impressed.
I thought for sure you'd bring an army. You said no security. I'm honoring that. Now tell me what you want. What I want you to stop this ridiculous investigation. Delete all the footage you have. Admit that Lucia is a liar who seduced you while you were vulnerable. And then we go back to how things were. We get married as planned. You forget this ever happened. Gabriel laughed. Actually laughed. You think I'm going to marry you after everything I've learned? After seeing what you did to Lucia? After finding out you've been stealing from me and sleeping with my second in command? Those are all lies told by a desperate woman trying to break us apart. I have video evidence, Vanessa. Hours of it. You beating her, threatening her, forcing her to work until she collapsed. I watched you press a hot iron against her skin and smile while you did it. There was a pause. When Vanessa spoke again, her voice had changed. Gone was the sweet, reasonable tone. What replaced it was cold. Empty. Then I guess we're past negotiating. We were past negotiating the moment you laid hands on someone under my protection. Under your protection? She's a maid, Gabriel. She's nothing. Less than nothing. The fact that you're willing to throw away everything we built for someone like her just proves how far you've fallen. What we built was a lie. You've been planning to leave me for months. Taking my money. Sleeping with Marco. Setting up your exit strategy. Did you really think I wouldn't find out eventually? I thought I'd be long gone before you figured it out. But then your little maid had to go and develop a conscience. Had to run crying to you with her sob story. So I had to accelerate my timeline. Your timeline for what? For making you irrelevant. I heard movement. Footsteps. Then Gabriel's voice, harder now. Put the gun down, Vanessa. My blood turned to ice. She had a gun. She'd brought a gun to what was supposed to be a conversation. I don't think so, Vanessa said. See, here's what's really going to happen. You're going to have a tragic accident. A break-in, maybe. Someone with a grudge. You have so many enemies. It could be anyone. And I'll be devastated, of course. The grieving fiancé. Who inherits everything because we were about to be married. Who gets to walk away rich and free while you're buried 6 feet under. You won't get away with this. Too many people know what you've done. Like who?
Marco? He's already dead.
Had a terrible car accident this morning. Very tragic. The police are still scraping him off the highway. The casual way she said it. Like Marco's death meant nothing. Like human life meant nothing. My lawyers have copies of everything, Gabriel said. Kill me, and it all goes public. Your lawyers work for me now. Well, they work for the woman who's been paying them triple what you do for the last 3 months. Loyalty is expensive, Gabriel. You taught me that. And Lucia? You think killing me will make her stop? She'll tell everyone what you did. Lucia's mother is going to have a very unfortunate complication with her treatment this evening. And Lucia, well, she's going to be so distraught about losing both her mother and her lover that she's going to do something desperate. Another tragic accident. The police will find evidence of her obsession with you. Journals. Photos. The kind of things stalkers keep. It'll be very convincing. I'd heard enough. More than enough. I pulled out my phone to call the police. But before I could dial, someone grabbed me from behind. A hand clamped over my mouth. An arm wrapped around my waist, lifting me off my feet. I tried to scream. Tried to fight. But whoever had me was strong. Too strong. I was dragged backward. Through the kitchen. Out the back door. Into the garage where a van was waiting. The hand left my mouth and I sucked in air to scream. I wouldn't, a familiar voice said. Unless you want your boyfriend to die in the next 30 seconds. I turned my head and saw the man who'd tried to grab me at my mother's facility. Vanessa's hired muscle. We've been watching you since you arrived, he said. Ms. Russo knew you couldn't resist playing hero. She was counting on it actually. Makes the whole murder-suicide scenario much more believable when you're both found together. Murder-suicide? That's the story. Obsessed maid kills her employer when he rejects her. Then kills herself out of grief. Very dramatic. The media will eat it up.
He pushed me toward the van.
I could see someone else inside. Multiple someones. All armed. This was it. The trap Gabriel had known was coming, but had walked into anyway. The moment where everything fell apart. Please, I said. Don't do this. Whatever she's paying you, Gabriel will pay more. He has more resources. More connections. Had more resources, the man corrected. Ms. Russo's been dismantling his empire piece by piece for months. She's very thorough. By tomorrow, she'll own everything and he'll be dead. You both will. A gunshot rang out from inside the house. I screamed. Tried to run back inside. The man grabbed me again. Too late for him. But don't worry. You'll be joining him soon. Another gunshot. Then silence. Everything in me shattered. Gabriel was dead. Vanessa had killed him. And I was next. The man started pushing me toward the van again. That's when the garage door exploded inward. Not opened. Exploded. Like something had driven through it at high speed. A black SUV crashed through the splintered door, slammed into the van, sent Vanessa's man flying backward. The SUV doors opened and armed men poured out. Not Vanessa's men. Gabriel's men. Real security. The kind that wore bulletproof vests and carried military-grade weapons. "Get down," one of them shouted at me. I dropped to the ground, covering my head as gunfire erupted. It lasted maybe 30 seconds. Felt like hours. When it stopped, Vanessa's men were on the ground.
Some dead.
Some unconscious. All neutralized. One of Gabriel's security team, a woman with short dark hair and cold eyes, pulled me to my feet. "Are you hurt?" "Gabriel." There were gunshots. "Vanessa has him. She's going to kill him. She's going to try. Come on." They moved as a unit. Professional. Precise. Through the garage. Into the house. Weapons up. Covering angles. We reached the sitting room.
The door was closed.
"On three," the team leader said. They breached the door. Went in fast and hard. I followed, my heart in my throat, prepared to see Gabriel's body on the floor. But what I saw instead made no sense. Gabriel was standing, unhurt. His gun pointed at Vanessa, who was on her knees, bleeding from her shoulder. Marco was there too, very much alive. Also armed. Also pointed at Vanessa. "Lucia," Gabriel said when he saw me, relief flooding his face. "Thank God. I was afraid they'd gotten you." "I don't understand. The gunshots. He said you were dead." He lied. That's what Vanessa's people do. They lie. I looked at Marco. "But Vanessa said you died in a car accident this morning."
Marco smiled grimly.
Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. Turns out when your boss tries to have you killed, you get motivated to switch sides permanently. "You were working together? This whole time?" "Not the whole time," Gabriel said. "But for the last week, yes. Since Marco realized Vanessa was planning to kill him along with everyone else who knew her secrets. Turns out self-preservation is a powerful motivator." Vanessa laughed. Actually laughed, even though she was bleeding and surrounded by armed men. "You think this changes anything? You think you've won." "I know I've won," Gabriel said. "Every word you said in the last 10 minutes was recorded. Every confession. Every threat. Every murder you admitted to planning. It's all on tape. Multiple copies. Already sent to multiple people. You're done, Vanessa. You can't prove any of it in court. My lawyers. Your lawyers just got arrested for conspiracy and evidence tampering. Turns out they weren't as loyal as you thought. Money only goes so far when people realize they're going to prison." Her face changed. For the first time since I'd known her, Vanessa looked genuinely afraid. "You're bluffing." "I'm really not. While you were monologuing about your brilliant plan, federal agents were raiding your lawyers' offices, your offshore accounts, and every property you own. They found evidence of embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, and about 15 other charges I'm forgetting. You're going to prison for a very long time."
"No."
She tried to stand. Gabriel's gun didn't waver.
"No."
"I planned this perfectly. Every detail. Every contingency. You planned for me being a victim. You didn't plan for me being 3 steps ahead of you. You spent months dismantling my life, while I spent months rebuilding it stronger. You bought off my lawyers while I hired new ones you didn't know about. You tried to isolate me while I was building alliances you couldn't touch. You were so focused on destroying me that you never noticed I was building the cage you're now trapped in." The police arrived then. Real police. Not the ones Vanessa had bought. They had warrants. Had evidence. Had everything they needed. They took her away in handcuffs. Still screaming. Still insisting this wasn't over. Still believing somehow that she'd find a way out. But she wouldn't. Because Gabriel hadn't just built a case against her. He'd built a fortress.
Airtight.
Undeniable. Overwhelming. When the police were gone, when it was just us and Gabriel's security team, I finally let myself process what had happened. "You knew," I said. "You knew she was going to try to kill you." I suspected. That's why I didn't actually come alone. My team was positioned around the property the whole time. why I wore a bulletproof vest, why I made sure Marco was here to back me up, and the gunshots. Blanks. Fired to draw out any backup Vanessa had hidden. To make her people think the plan was working so they'd let their guard down. You used me as bait. The realization was cold.
Hard. No.
I told you to stay at the safe house, specifically so you wouldn't be bait. You decided to come here on your own. That was your choice. You knew I'd come. He was quiet for a moment. I hoped you wouldn't. But yes, I knew you probably would. That's why I had people watching for you. Why we extracted you as soon as you were grabbed. You were never in as much danger as you thought. I could have been killed. You could have. But you weren't. And now it's over. Vanessa's going to prison. Marco's cooperating with authorities. Your mother's safe. You're safe. It's done. It should have felt like victory. Like relief. But all I felt was hollow. Empty. I need to see my mother, I said. I'll have someone drive you.
No.
I'll drive myself. I need to be alone for a while. Lucia. Thank you for saving me. For stopping Vanessa. For everything. But right now, I need space. I need to process all of this without you orchestrating it. I left before he could respond. Took the car I'd driven there. Made the hour-long drive to my mother's facility in numb silence. My mother was awake when I arrived.
Sitting up in bed.
Looking stronger than she had in weeks. Baby girl, she said. I've been watching the news. Is it true? Is it really over? I sat beside her bed and finally, let myself cry. It's over. She held me while I sobbed. While I released 2 months of fear and pain and trauma. While I mourned the person I'd been before all of this started. When I was empty, when I had no tears left, she pulled back and looked at me seriously. What are you going to do now? She asked. I don't know. Find a new job. Find a new life. Figure out who I am when I'm not just surviving. And Gabriel? What about him? Don't play dumb with me. I see how you talk about him. How your face changes when you say his name. That man loves you. And unless I'm very wrong, you love him too. He's my employer. Was my employer. It's complicated. Love is always complicated. That doesn't make it less real. He put me in danger. Used me as part of his plan. He saved you. Saved me. Brought down the woman who tortured you. Yes, his methods were questionable. But the results speak for themselves. I don't know if I can trust him. Trust anyone after everything that happened. Then take your time. Figure it out. But don't run away from something real just because you're scared. You've been scared for months. Don't let Vanessa win by making you too afraid to live. I stayed with my mother for hours.
Talking.
Planning. Beginning to imagine a future that wasn't defined by fear. When I finally left, the sun was setting. I drove back to the safe house slowly, not sure what I'd find there. Gabriel's car was in the driveway. He was sitting on the porch when I pulled up. 2 mugs of coffee beside him. Waiting. I wasn't sure you'd come back, he said when I approached. I wasn't sure either.
I'm sorry.
For putting you at risk. For not telling you the full plan. For making you feel like a pawn instead of a partner. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed your reactions to be genuine. Needed Vanessa to believe you didn't know what was really happening. If she'd suspected you were acting, the whole thing would have fallen apart. So, you let me think you were going to die.
Yes.
And I'll regret that for a long time. But I don't regret the outcome. Vanessa's going to prison for 25 years minimum. Your mother's getting the best care possible. You're free. That's all I cared about. I sat down beside him. Took one of the coffee mugs. What happens now? Now you decide what you want. If you want to walk away from all of this, from me, I'll understand. I'll make sure you have everything you need. Money. References. Whatever you want. No strings attached. And if I don't want to walk away?
He looked at me then.
Really looked at me. Then we figure out what this is between us.
Take our time.
Do it right. I'm not asking you to jump into anything. I'm just asking for a chance. A chance at what? At seeing where this goes. At building something real. Something based on honesty and trust instead of fear and obligation. I thought about what my mother had said, about not running away from something real just because I was scared. I'm not ready for a relationship, I said slowly. I need time to heal, to figure out who I am outside of survival mode. I can wait. I might decide I want something completely different. A normal life.
Normal job.
Normal everything. Then I'll support that. You're a mafia boss. Your life is the opposite of normal. I'm a businessman who operates in gray areas. But I'm also just a man who wants to be with someone who sees him as more than his reputation. You do that. You always have. This is crazy. Probably. But the last 2 weeks have taught me that safety and sanity are overrated. I'd rather have something real and complicated than something easy and hollow. We sat in silence for a while, drinking coffee, watching the sun set over the lake. I'll stay, I finally said. Not here. I need my own place.
My own space.
But I'll stay in your life. We can see where it goes. Slowly. Slowly, he agreed. And if at any point this feels like too much, if I need to walk away, then you walk away.
No guilt. No obligación.
I promise. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a fairy tale ending where everything was magically fixed. But it was honest.
Real.
A beginning instead of an ending. And after everything I'd been through, that felt like enough. What I didn't know yet was that Vanessa, sitting in her jail cell, was already making new plans. Already finding new allies. Already plotting her revenge. Because women like Vanessa didn't accept defeat. They just got more creative about their cruelty. And in 6 months, when I thought I'd finally found peace, she was going to reach out from prison and try to destroy everything I'd built. But that's a story for later. Right now, in this moment, sitting beside Gabriel as the stars came out, I was free. And freedom, real freedom, was worth everything I'd endured to get here. Understood. I'll make acts 6 to 9 significantly shorter while maintaining the emotional impact and story progression. I'll write them all together now, each act being more concise. 3 months passed. 3 months of therapy sessions and learning to sleep without nightmares. 3 months of visiting my mother, who was getting stronger every day. 3 months of slowly, carefully, letting Gabriel into my life. We had dinner twice a week. Coffee on Sunday mornings. Long conversations about everything and nothing. He never pushed. Never demanded more than I was ready to give. I got my own apartment. Small but mine. Started taking online business classes. Began imagining a future that didn't involve fear. Then Vanessa's lawyer contacted me. She wanted to see me. Had information I needed to hear. It was important. Don't go, Gabriel said when I told him. It's a manipulation. She's trying to get inside your head. I need to face her. Need to prove to myself that she doesn't have power over me anymore. Then I'm coming with you.
No.
This is something I need to do alone. The prison was cold and gray and smelled like desperation. Vanessa looked different.
Thinner.
Harder. Prison orange didn't suit her the way designer clothes had. But her smile was the same. Sharp. Full. Lucia, she said, sitting across from me with the guard standing nearby. You look well. Freedom agrees with you. What do you want, Vanessa?
To give you a gift.
Information. See, I've had a lot of time to think in here. A lot of time to dig into people's lives. Including yours. I don't care about anything you have to say. Not even about your mother's miracle recovery? Her smile widened. Don't you think it's strange? She was dying. Terminal. No hope. Then suddenly, after Gabriel starts paying for her treatment, she's getting better. Almost like her original diagnosis was wrong. My blood ran cold. What are you saying? I'm saying I had her medical records checked by independent doctors. Real ones, not the ones Gabriel paid off. Your mother never had cancer, Lucia. She had a treatable condition that was deliberately misdiagnosed. And the only person who benefited from that misdiagnosis was the man who swooped in to save her. The man who needed you desperate enough to accept any job. Any situation. You're lying.
Am I?
Check for yourself. Get a second opinion. A third. See what they tell you. Gabriel needed a reason to keep you close. Needed leverage. What better leverage than a dying mother who only he could save? Why would he do that? Because he's been obsessed with you for over a year. Saw you at a charity event where you were serving drinks. Decided he had to have you. So he created the circumstances that would put you in his house. Under his control. He manufactured your entire crisis, Lucia. The job posting. The generous salary. The sick mother. All of it was him pulling strings. I stood up. You're a liar. You've always been a liar. Then prove me wrong. Ask him. Watch his face when you do. See if he can lie to you as well as I did. I left. Drove straight to Gabriel's office downtown. Burst in without announcement. He looked up from his desk, surprised. Lucia, what's wrong? Did you know my mother before I started working for you? His expression changed. Became guarded. What are you talking about? Answer the question. Did you know about her condition before I took the job? Lucia, sit down. Let me explain. Oh God. The room spun. It's true. Vanessa was telling the truth. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Tell me you didn't manipulate my mother's diagnosis. Tell me you didn't create this whole situation to trap me. He was quiet for too long. I saw you at an event, he finally said. You were working. You smiled at everyone even though you were exhausted. You had this light about you. This strength. I wanted to know you. But women in your position, they don't trust men like me. For good reason. So you made my mother sick?
No. She was sick.
But the doctors I sent her to, they exaggerated the severity. Made it seem terminal when it was treatable. I'm not proud of it. But I needed a way to bring you into my life. You needed a way to control me.
No.
I needed a way to know you.
To be near you.
I thought once you were working for me, I could show you I wasn't the monster everyone thinks I am. I didn't know Vanessa would become one. But you let it happen. You let her abuse me for 2 months because it served your purpose. It made me dependent on you. Made me trust you. That's not true. I didn't know what she was doing until that night in the kitchen. Didn't you? Or did you just not care to look? You have cameras everywhere. You see everything. Tell me you didn't suspect something was wrong. His silence was answer enough. I trusted you. I whispered. I thought you saved me. But you're the reason I needed saving in the first place. Lucia, please. Let me make this right. There is no making this right. You built our entire relationship on lies. Everything I thought we had, it was based on manipulation and control. Just like with Vanessa. You're both the same. I'm nothing like her. Aren't you? She controlled me with threats. You controlled me with false kindness. The methods were different, but the result was the same. I was never free. Not with her. Not with you. I turned to leave. Where are you going? He asked. Away from you. Away from all of this. I'm done being someone's puppet. What about your mother's treatment? I looked back at him. Is that a threat? Are you saying if I leave, you'll stop paying?
No.
I would never. The treatment continues regardless. I'm just asking what you're going to do. I'm going to take my mother somewhere you can't find us. I'm going to start over. And I'm going to forget I ever met you. I left his office. Left the building. Got in my car and drove. But I didn't know where to go. Didn't know how to process what I'd learned. That everything I'd believed was a lie. That the man I'd been falling for had orchestrated my entire nightmare. I ended up at my mother's facility. Told her everything. Watched her face crumble as she realized the truth. We need to leave, I said. Tonight. Before he can stop us. Baby girl, where will we go? I don't know. Somewhere far away. Somewhere we can be safe. But my treatment. We'll figure it out. I'll get a job. Multiple jobs. Whatever it takes. But we're not staying under his control. That night, we disappeared. I emptied my bank account. Got a car from a friend who didn't ask questions. Drove west with my mother beside me and no destination in mind. For 2 weeks, we ran. Stayed in cheap motels. Paid cash for everything. Avoided cameras and main roads. My mother's condition started deteriorating without her regular treatments. She tried to hide it, but I could see the fatigue, the pain, the fear in her eyes. We need to go back, she finally said. I need proper care. He'll find us if we go back. Then let him find us. Because I'd rather die free than live like this, and I'd rather you learn to forgive than spend your life running. Forgive him? After what he did?
He lied.
He manipulated. He was wrong. But he also saved me, protected you, destroyed the woman who was really hurting you. People are complicated, baby. They can do terrible things and good things, sometimes at the same time. I don't know if I can trust him again. Then don't. But don't throw away something real just because it started wrong. Every good thing in life is messy. Every relationship has problems. The question is whether the good outweighs the bad. I didn't have an answer, but I knew she was right about one thing. Running wasn't working. We needed a real solution. So I did something I swore I'd never do. I called Gabriel. He answered on the first ring. Lucia. Thank God. Are you safe? My mother needs treatment. Real treatment. Can you arrange it?
No strines.
No conditions. Just help her. Of course. Where are you? I'll text you the address of the hospital. Meet us there. But Gabriel, this doesn't mean we're okay. This doesn't mean I forgive you. I know. I'll be there in 3 hours. He made it in 2. The hospital room was quiet except for the beeping of monitors. My mother was stable. The doctors Gabriel had called were the best in the region.
Real doctors this time.
I'd verified their credentials myself. Gabriel sat in the hallway outside, waiting. Not pushing. Just there. When I finally came out, he stood up. How is she? Stable. They're starting treatment tomorrow.
Good.
That's good. We stood in awkward silence. I'm sorry, he finally said. For everything. For manipulating the situation. For not being honest from the start. For making you feel like you couldn't trust me. Why did you do it? Really? And don't give me the excuse about wanting to know me. You could have just asked me out like a normal person. Because I'm not a normal person. Because women who know what I am, what I do, they either want me for money and power or they're terrified of me. You were different. You saw me as human. I wanted to preserve that. Thought if I could just get close to you, show you I wasn't a monster, maybe you'd give me a chance. So you created a scenario where I had no choice but to depend on you.
Yes.
And that was wrong.
I see that now.
But at the time, it felt like the only option. Did you know what Vanessa was doing to me? The truth this time. He was quiet for a long moment. I suspected something was wrong about 3 weeks in. You changed. Became quieter. More careful. But I told myself I was imagining it. That you were just adjusting to the job. I didn't want to see what was really happening because if I did, I'd have to admit I'd put you in that situation. So, you let it continue. For 2 weeks. Then I couldn't ignore it anymore. That's when I started really investigating. Found the hidden camera footage. Saw what she'd been doing. And I realized I'd created a monster by bringing you into that house. You should have told me. I know. But I was afraid. Afraid you'd leave. Afraid I'd lose the one real thing in my life before I'd even had a chance to fight for it. I sat down in one of the waiting room chairs. He sat beside me, keeping distance between us. I don't know how to move forward from this, I said quietly. Part of me wants to forgive you. Wants to believe that people can make mistakes and still deserve second chances. But another part of me is terrified. Because if I let you back in, if I trust you again, what's to stop you from manipulating me again? Nothing. Except my word that I won't. Except my promise to be completely honest from now on, even when the truth is ugly. Except the fact that I'm willing to spend the rest of my life proving to you that I'm better than my worst decision. That's not enough. I know. So tell me what is. Tell me what I need to do to earn back your trust. I'll do it. Anything. I thought about it.
Really thought about it.
I want complete transparency. Access to everything. Your businesses. Your finances. Your communications.
No secrets. No hidden agendas.
Done. I want to work with you. Not for you. Equal partnership. I want to learn the business. Have real power. Real decision-making authority. Agreed. And I want time. No pressure.
No expectations.
We start over as friends, and we see where it goes. Maybe nowhere. Maybe somewhere. But it happens naturally, or not at all. Whatever you need. Whatever timeline you're comfortable with. Why are you agreeing so easily? Because losing you these last 2 weeks was hell. Because I realized that having you in my life, even as just a friend, is better than not having you in it at all. Because I love you, Lucia. And real love means putting the other person's needs above your own desires. The words hung in the air between us. Heavy. Significant.
Don't, I said.
Don't tell me you love me.
Not now.
Not when everything's still so broken. I'm not saying it to manipulate you. I'm saying it because it's true. And because even if you never love me back, even if we never become more than friends, you deserve to know that someone sees you. All of you. The strength and the fear and the beauty and the pain. And loves all of it. Tears were running down my face. This isn't fair. I know. I'm so angry at you. You should be. But I also don't want to lose you. Then don't. Stay angry. Work through it. Let me prove I can do better. Just don't disappear again. My mother's doctor came out then. Miss Torres? Your mother's asking for you. I stood up. Looked at Gabriel. I need to think about all of this. Need time to process. Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready. I went back to my mother's room. She was awake, looking tired but more peaceful than she had in weeks. I heard some of that, she said. The walls are thin. And I think you should give him another chance. Not for his sake. For yours. Because holding on to anger takes energy you could be using to build something good. Even after what he did? People make mistakes, baby. Big ones. The question is whether they learn from them. Whether they grow. I think he has. Or maybe you just want me to be happy and you think he can make me happy. I want you to give yourself permission to be happy. Whether that's with him or without him. But don't let fear make your decisions. You've been afraid for too long. She was right. I had been afraid for too long. Afraid of Vanessa. Afraid of losing my mother. Afraid of trusting the wrong person. But fear wasn't living. It was just surviving. And I was tired of only surviving. Over the next week, I stayed at the hospital with my mother. Gabriel visited every day, but kept his distance. Brought food. Made sure we had everything we needed. Never asked for anything in return. And slowly, carefully, I started to see him differently. Not as the man who'd manipulated me, but as a man who'd made terrible choices and was genuinely trying to make amends. On the 8th day, I asked him to take a walk with me. We walked through the hospital gardens in silence for a while. I've made a decision, I finally said. He tensed, preparing for rejection. I'm willing to try. To give us a real chance. But on my terms. With my boundaries. And if you ever lie to me again, if you ever manipulate me again, I'm gone. Permanently. No second chances after this. I understand.
Do you?
Because I'm serious, Gabriel. One more betrayal, and I'm done. Then I'll spend every day making sure that never happens. Okay then. Let's start over.
I'm Lucia Torres.
I'm a woman who survived hell and come out stronger. I'm studying business. I have trust issues. And I might be falling for a man I should probably run from. He smiled. A real smile.
I'm Gabriel Moretti.
I'm a man who made terrible choices, but wants to do better. I run businesses that operate in gray areas. I have control issues. And I'm definitely in love with a woman who's too good for me. So, what do we do now? Now we take it one day at a time. Build something real. Something honest. Something worth fighting for. I held out my hand. He took it. And for the first time in months, I felt like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. 6 months later, everything had changed. My mother was in remission. Real remission. Verified by multiple independent doctors. She'd moved into a small house near my apartment. Close enough to visit, but far enough for independence. I'd started working with Gabriel, learning his businesses, the legitimate ones and the less legitimate ones. Turned out